Hello and welcome to a new video in this JavaFX tutorial series. Today I will cover an issue that came to my attention recently when someone tried to run a JavaFX application in a new version of Java. Basically, this video will cover all versions starting from JDK 11 when trying to run a JavaFX application. And to demonstrate the problem, I have checked out my source code from the last video of this tutorial series. So what you can see here is the MyFX application from the last video, and I'm working with an Eclipse that is based on the version from the end of last year. And as I wrote in the title of this video, we will be using Java 11. So this is working on the JDK 11, and you may wonder why we are not using a newer version of Java. So starting by Java 8, the next step will be Java 11, since we want to stick to the long-term support versions called LTS. And as we can check out on the Wikipedia page, the first LTS version was Java 8, and the current and latest released version is Java 11 on the LTS branch. Upcoming on the end of this year, there will be Java SE 17. It's also LTS release, but it's not currently available yet. So we stick to the Java 11, which is also commonly used in enterprise environments. And you can already see here in Eclipse that it's highlighting some errors. And when I now try to run the program, it will show me an error message that the main class could not be loaded because the JavaFX application class was not found. And my main class is inheriting from the application class that is very important for the JavaFX application. And the reason why the application class from JavaFX cannot be found is that JavaFX was removed from JDK 11 and all the versions greater than JDK 11. And since those are not provided anymore in the base JDK, you have to ship your own libraries in your application. And in order to set up a Maven project, you can use Eclipse to convert an existing project into the required structure for Maven. In order to do this, you right-click on the project and you go to Configure, Convert to Maven Project. And here you need to fill in basic information for this Maven project. So we just use our default group ID using a default release version. This will now create a basic POM, which is filled in with the default configuration stuff for Java 1.8, as well as the source directory get redirected to the Eclipse source folder. This is something we don't want to have here. We don't want to use JDK 1.8, and we also want to use the default Maven structure. So in this case, we just remove this part, and I will just format this a little bit. And now we save the POM file, and we press right click again on the project, go to Maven and say update project. So this can be done by a shortcut as well. Just for your demonstration, you find this option here. And this will now update the configuration that we have changed. Now we need to add the default Maven structure folders. So this is a subfolder called main, and then again another subfolder called Java. Again, I will do a Maven update. And now you can already see Maven has found the base information here. And our main class is now in the default package folder here. Still, nothing has changed yet in the project. The error messages still exist, and this is because we did not enter any configuration in our POM file yet. So I already prepared some of the configuration that we need, and I will give you a quick overview, but I will also upload all the configuration files and the complete project on GitHub, so you can just easily copy and paste the required sections for your project. The first one that I will use is I will set up Maven to use JDK 11, which is done by those properties that you can set, and you will see it has switched here on the left side from JDK 1.5 to 11. So now we're running on the right JDK, but this did not change anything here since our OpenJFX is still missing. And I just started up my browser, and here you can see what is required to run JavaFX. We need the JavaFX controls Maven Dependency, which you can find in the Maven repository browser. And we will just copy this one here. And we would simply insert this one right here. Now it's just downloading a few seconds, and then we have the JavaFX controls up and running. And if I now check out the project, you can see a lot of errors are fixed now. Application could be found, no problem here anymore. Still, there are 2 imports not working. This is because the web engine and the web view are special components now in JavaFX. And in order to use those special web components, you need to add another dependency here, which is called JavaFX Web. But you only need this dependency if you really want to use something like an embedded browser in your application. And now all the errors are fixed right here. So I will just start the program now. And as you can see, oh, it's not working. So there's another error. And this is because the new OpenJFX libraries require a special setup of your project. So you can use a single class where you have your main and your application launch, but you need to set a special starter class. So what that means is I will add another class, which I simply call main starter, for example. And this will now contain our main method that is invoked by Java on startup, and this will simply call main.main and provide the arguments that maybe have been passed to your application. That's all. You only need a separate class that is not extending from the application and is calling your actual program. And if I now start this here, you can see JavaFX is working. The application starts. I can use all the controls just as it was in JDK 8. We can navigate here on the web, and your JavaFX application is just fine now. So this is how you can work in JDK 11. But if you are now try to build a jar with Maven that is a standalone jar to run, you are not done by doing this. You have to create so-called shaded jar in order to include those dependencies right into your own jar file and ship all the dependencies when you provide your application. And this is done by a little bit more configuration. I've just inserted it here for you. And this is called the Maven Shade plugin, which will create a jar file that includes all the other files. And it's pointing to the main starter class that we have created. I've already added a package in the configuration. So to make it a more realistic example, we are not using the default package. We have a package called de Kriechel and then the main starter class file. And as well as the Shade plugin, we also use the JavaFX Maven plugin. This is also setting up the project in order to run on a standalone base. So just update the project again. I will run it here just to demonstrate it's still working in Eclipse. And now I've just started up a command line prompt here right in the MyFX project folder. So we can put in a Maven clean package here. And this will build up our jar file, and you can also see it's including the jars into the shaded jar. So you have a standalone application that is running. And if I now switch to the target folder, I can just say java -jar. The jar is starting just as it starts in Eclipse, and now it's a standalone jar which you can use and provide on all the other systems that you want to start the program. So I hope this tutorial helped you to upgrade your application from JDK 8 to JDK 11, which can be a little bit tricky. And I can tell you there can be one more pitfall that you can run into when you try to upgrade your application to JDK 11. If you have still installed JDK 8 on your computer, then it's highly likely that Eclipse is getting a problem when you run the program from your Eclipse setup. So the easiest way to fix this is just to uninstall the old JDK 8 version. Or an alternative is that you provide the JDK 11 VM right in the Eclipse ini file, which can be done in this Eclipse ini configuration. If you would go into this file, and anywhere in this file, you can insert the so-called VM parameter, which is pointing to your Java installation. And if you set this one right to the Java 11 path, then you can use JDK 11 and 8 altogether, and Eclipse is choosing the correct JDK in order to start up and work in your Eclipse workspace. If you have any more questions on this topic, just leave a comment, and I hope to see you soon.